The galaxy was never silent. For thousands of years, empires rose and fell. Wars raged between countless species, and trade ships carried goods through the endless dark. But now, the silence was different. It was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of fear. Whispers began to spread from one star system to another. They moved faster than ships, carried in messages, in rumors, in frightened voices. A word, a name, a species, humanity. At first, many aliens laughed. They dismissed the rumors as wild stories from soldiers who had gone mad in battle. But then fleets started to vanish. Not one or two ships, but entire armadas. They left behind wreckage floating like corpses in the void. No survivors, no distress calls, no warnings, only silence. A frightened merchant in the outer rim claimed to have seen something. He said a human ship passed through the trade lanes. It was old, ugly, covered in scars, but its weapons shone brighter than suns. He said the ship didn't even fire first, it only responded. But when it responded, it turned a fleet of raiders into dust in seconds. The merchant swore the humans didn't even chase him. They just moved on, cold and silent, like predators that had already fed. The whispers grew. On a desert world, soldiers spoke of a battle where 3 alien war fleets had surrounded a single human carrier. They had laughed at the humans, called them weak, soft, and untested. But when the battle began, the laughter ended. The humans fought like no one had seen before. They didn't retreat. They didn't hesitate. Every shot, every maneuver was like a hunter driving its prey into the ground. The battle ended with the alien fleets shattered, their survivors begging for mercy. And still the humans showed none. In the great Galactic Council, leaders argued. Some said humanity was just a myth, a story told to frighten children. Others warned that the rumors were true. Reports piled up, burned worlds, destroyed fleets, broken empires. A senator from the Arcan Dominion whispered, "They are not fighting for power, they are fighting for survival. And a species fighting for survival is the most dangerous enemy of all." Yet even as the council argued, fear spread like a shadow. Whole colonies abandoned their homes when they heard humanity was near. Soldiers deserted before battles even began. Armies surrendered to rumors. They didn't need to see humans. The whispers were enough. But what made the galaxy tremble was not just the battles. It was the stories that survivors told. A commander from the Yalari Alliance crawled back from the front lines, broken, his ship in ruins. His words shook the council chamber. They fight like demons. They do not fear death. They charge into fire as if pain means nothing. They fight not with hate, but with something colder, something harder. They fight because they believe they must win or none of them will survive. The galaxy had seen war before, endless wars, savage wars. But this was something else. It was not savagery for glory. It was not destruction for conquest. It was war fought with the full weight of desperation. A species from a death world. A species forged by hardship. A species that had always been close to extinction and learned how to fight so they would never die. In the shadows of the council hall, someone whispered a question that no one dared answer. If humanity could do this now, what will happen when they become stronger? The galaxy shivered. On distant planets, children cried at night when their parents spoke the word human. Traders refused to carry cargo near the human war zone. Even warlords who had once ruled with iron claws avoided human space. The word became a curse, a warning, a shadow, humanity. And yet, no one truly understood them. No one knew what had awakened their fury. Some said an empire had threatened Earth, and in return, Earth had unleashed its fleets. Others whispered that humanity had always been watching, waiting, preparing for the day the galaxy would discover them. But one thing was certain. In the deep void, in the endless silence between stars, every empire now feared the same thing. They feared that the next whisper would not be a rumor. They feared that the next shadow in the dark would be real, and when it came, it would come with the name that the galaxy now spoke only in terror: humanity. The alien commander had lived through 100 battles. He had fought pirates in the asteroid belts, rebels in the burning skies of Gasor Prime, and even rival empires across the border wars. He believed he had seen everything. But then, he saw the humans. It began with a simple mission. His fleet of 20 warships was ordered to intercept what the Council called a small human expedition. The reports claimed the humans had only one carrier and a few escorts. To him, it sounded like a gift, a chance to crush the enemy quickly and earn glory for his empire. He laughed when his officers reported the human fleet's coordinates. "One carrier? Against us, this will not even last an hour." The fleet prepared for battle. Massive cruisers aligned their cannons. Fighters swarmed out into the void, and energy shields flared bright like suns. The commander stood tall on his bridge, confident. He told his crew, "By the end of this day there will be no more whispers of humanity, only silence." But when the human fleet appeared, everything changed. At first glance, their ships looked fragile, even old. Metal plates covered with scars, engines glowing weakly, designs crude compared to the sleek curves of alien warships. The crew laughed nervously. The commander smiled. It looked easy. Then the battle began. The commander ordered the first strike. 20 ships fired at once. The void lit up with plasma fire, missile trails, and beams of light. The human carrier vanished in the storm. Explosions filled the dark and the crew cheered. But the cheers ended quickly. From the fire, the human carrier emerged, untouched. Its shields glowed with a strange energy the aliens had never seen before. The human escorts broke formation and charged forward at impossible speed. Their ships moved like predators, darting between blasts, cutting through the alien line with surgical strikes. One escort ship flew straight into the alien formation. The commander thought it was suicide. Instead, it unleashed a weapon the galaxy had no name for. A blast that tore through 3 cruisers in a single shot. Their shields shattered like glass. Their hulls split open, venting fire and bodies into the void. The crew froze in horror. The humans did not pause. Their fighters swarmed like a storm of metal and fire. Every maneuver was precise. Every strike was deadly. It was as if they had studied their enemy for centuries. They targeted weak points no alien would even consider. Engines, supply pods, command bridges. The aliens tried to regroup, but every time they moved, the humans were already there. The commander shouted orders. His voice broke as he called for a retreat, but the humans did not allow retreat. They cut off escape routes, surrounding the fleet like wolves circling prey. For the first time in his life, the commander felt fear. He saw humans fighting not as soldiers but as something else, something relentless. They did not hesitate. They did not slow. They fought as if death was meaningless. Within minutes, half his fleet was gone. Ships that had stood for decades were reduced to drifting wreckage. The commander's own flagship shook as alarms screamed, fires erupted, crew shouted, and explosions rocked the bridge. And then, the humans spoke. A voice came through the comms, calm and cold. Not a scream, not a taunt, not even anger. Only words that froze his blood. "You attacked us. You will learn." It was not shouted. It was not loud. It was quiet, like a teacher correcting a student. And yet it carried more weight than any threat he had ever heard. The commander fell to his knees. He realized this was not war as he knew it. This was survival. This was a species that had lived on a death world, where nature itself tried to kill them every day. They had not learned war from empires or councils. They had learned it from their own planet. By the time the battle ended, only the commander's crippled flagship survived. The human carrier drifted past, silent, its weapons still glowing. It did not destroy him. It let him live. When his crew asked why the humans spared them, he gave only one answer. They wanted us to remember. The commander returned to the council, broken. His once proud voice shook as he told them the truth. He warned them not to fight humanity again. He begged them to make peace before it was too late. But few listened. The council leaders whispered among themselves. Some called him a coward. Others said he had been tricked by human technology. But deep in their hearts they knew the truth. His fear was real. His terror was proof. And so the whispers grew louder. Now they had a survivor's story. Now the galaxy knew what it meant to face humans in battle. It was not like fighting any other species. It was like standing before a storm, a fire, a predator that never stopped. And in that truth, the galaxy trembled. For the first time, they began to whisper not only in fear but in warning. Do not fight the humans unless you want extinction. The galaxy thought it had seen great wars before. Civilizations had clashed over resources, empires had burned whole planets to ash, and armadas had darkened the skies of countless worlds. But nothing compared to what came next. Nothing compared to the war with humanity. It began quietly. Human fleets spread across the stars not in numbers but in speed. Where other species gathered massive armadas, humans moved in sharp, precise groups. They did not waste ships. They did not waste time. Every fleet was like a blade, thin, sharp, and deadly. The first empire to resist was the Zorath Dominion. They were proud, ancient, their war fleets stretching across 100 systems. When whispers came that the humans were near, the Zorath laughed. They are only savages. They cannot stand against us. They sent 10 fleets, each one armed with the best weapons of their empire. The battle lasted less than a day. The humans did not meet them head-on. They scattered, vanishing into the void. The Zorath commanders mocked them, calling them cowards. But then the trap closed. The humans attacked from behind, above, and below. They cut through the Zorath like hunters tearing apart a herd. And then, something no one in the galaxy had ever seen. The humans did not just destroy ships. They destroyed stars. A weapon ignited inside a system's sun. The star flared, screamed, and then collapsed. A supernova tore through the battlefield. Zorath fleets were erased in seconds, their ships turned to dust. The humans had burned a star to win. The galaxy gasped in horror. The council shouted that such weapons were madness, forbidden, beyond reason. But to humanity, it was survival. They did not care for rules written by others. They had their own law. Survive at any cost. Across the galaxy, more empires tried to resist. They sent fleets, built defenses, created alliances. But everywhere the same story was told. Humans fought with fury, with precision, with a kind of cold focus that no one else could match. They did not fight for glory. They did not fight for conquest. They fought because they refused to lose. On the world of Kaloran, the humans descended like fire. The defenders numbered in millions. They had walls of plasma, shields of energy, towers of iron. Yet when the humans landed, it was not soldiers that terrified the defenders. It was the silence. Human soldiers did not scream. They did not chant. They advanced with steady steps, weapons blazing, eyes hard as stone. They moved through the burning streets like ghosts of war. The defenders broke in hours, their commanders fleeing, their soldiers surrendering. On the frozen moon of Durak, an alien general begged for mercy when humans surrounded his base. He offered gold, ships, entire worlds. The human commander simply stared at him and said, "We didn't come for your wealth. We came to end the war." The base fell. No survivors. The galaxy began to realize the truth. Humanity did not stop. They did not slow. They did not celebrate victory. Every time they won, they moved on to the next battle as if nothing had happened. Their faces showed no joy, only grim silence. To them, war was not a game. It was not politics. It was life or death. The galaxy began to call them predators, but even that word felt too small. Predators hunted for food, for survival. Humanity hunted for something greater. They hunted for tomorrow, for the future of their species. And so, system after system fell. Stars burned, fleets vanished, worlds trembled. The war spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In its wake, only ruins and silence remained. In the council chamber, leaders screamed at each other. "They will destroy us all," one cried. "We must unite against them," another shouted. But no matter how many alliances they formed, no matter how many ships they built, humanity always seemed to be one step ahead. And still, no one knew why. Why had humanity unleashed such fury? Why did they fight as if the entire galaxy was their enemy? Some whispered it was revenge. Others said it was fear. A few even believed it was destiny. But the survivors knew the truth. They had seen it in the eyes of human soldiers, in the silence of human commanders, in the relentless way they fought. The truth was simple. Humans could not be stopped. They would burn stars, shatter worlds, and tear down empires if it meant survival. And so the galaxy began to tremble, not just in fear but in despair. For the first time in history, they faced a war they could not win. And in the dark silence of the void, where broken ships drifted and stars burned like wounds, one word spread like fire. A word that made even the bravest warriors shiver. Humanity. The galaxy had always been noisy. Fleets traveled, markets traded, empires boasted, and soldiers sang war songs before battles. But now, the noise was gone. It was replaced by silence. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of surrender. Entire empires had fallen quiet. Great rulers who once commanded with iron fists now whispered in fear. On border worlds, soldiers abandoned their posts the moment the word human reached their ears. Colonies burned their own ships just to avoid being drawn into the war. It was as if the galaxy itself held its breath. The humans did not have the largest fleets. They did not have the richest worlds. But wherever they went, silence followed. Not because they destroyed everything, but because no one dared resist anymore. On the world of Krelos, the High Emperor himself surrendered before a single human shot was fired. He had seen the reports, the burning of stars, the shattered fleets, the endless victories. He walked out of his golden palace and laid his crown on the ground. His words became a legend. Better silence under them than ashes above us. On the rim world of Draxon, an alien army of 50,000 soldiers simply dropped their weapons when the human fleet arrived in orbit. They marched out into the open fields and raised their hands, waiting for judgment. The humans passed them by, neither cruel nor merciful, only silent. But not all surrendered so easily. The proud Valar Empire believed they could still resist. They gathered what remained of their strength, 7 fleets, fortified planets, hidden bases. They declared, "The galaxy may fear humanity, but we will never bow." Their emperor gave a speech broadcast across the stars. He called humans monsters, savages, unworthy of the stars. His voice was strong. His people cheered. And then silence. The humans did not argue. They did not reply. They came. The 7 Valar fleets vanished within a week. Their fortified worlds went dark. Their emperor's palace, once filled with endless voices, was found empty. No bodies, no survivors. Nothing but silence. The galaxy learned. They learned that humanity did not waste words. They did not taunt. They did not threaten. They did not promise. They acted. And when they acted, silence always followed. In the Galactic Council, fear turned into desperation. Leaders whispered of alliances, but none trusted each other anymore. "If I stand, I will be the next to fall," one leader said. "If I hide, perhaps they will not find me," another hoped. But they all knew the truth. Hiding would not save them. One soldier, a survivor of countless battles, described humanity best. His words spread through the stars. They fight like the void itself, cold, endless, silent. When they arrive, it feels as if the stars themselves go dark. That silence grew heavier with every victory. In spaceports, traders no longer spoke of profit. They spoke of fear. In taverns, mercenaries who once laughed at danger now fell silent at the mention of Earth. In palaces, kings and queens dreamed of human fleets in the night sky, their voices stolen by terror. Even the machines seemed to know. long-range scanners, listening posts, and automated defenses all recorded the same thing. When humans entered a system, the chatter of life fell quiet. Radios went dead. Messages stopped. The very pulse of the galaxy slowed to nothing. The silence was not just fear. It was power. It was the kind of power no empire had ever held before. For in silence, humanity ruled. And still, no one understood them. Why did they fight this way? Why did they spread fear without words? Some said it was because humans wanted the galaxy to never forget. Others whispered that silence was their weapon, that they wanted every enemy to destroy themselves with fear, before battle even began. But the truth was far simpler. Humanity had been shaped by silence long before they reached the stars. On their death world, survival meant waiting quietly in the shadows, listening for danger, learning patience. War was only an extension of that silence. Now the galaxy understood. It was not their weapons alone that made them terrifying. It was not their fleets, their soldiers, or even their fury. It was the silence they left behind. The silence of empires that had once shouted with pride, now reduced to whispers. The silence of warriors who once sang, now buried in the void. The silence of rulers who once roared, now gone forever. Everywhere, silence. And in that silence, one name remained, carried in whispers, feared in every shadow, spoken only when no other ears could hear. Humanity. The war was over. Not because treaties were signed, not because armies agreed to peace, but because no one dared to fight anymore. The galaxy, once full of fire and noise, now lived in uneasy quiet. Worlds rebuilt in silence. Empires shrank into themselves. The Great Council no longer shouted with pride, but whispered with fear. Everywhere the shadow of one name hung heavy. Humanity. At first, some thought the humans would demand tribute, that they would enslave the galaxy, that they would carve their empire in blood. But the humans did none of that. They withdrew their fleets. They returned to their own space. They left behind only ruins, silence, and memories. It was not conquest they wanted. It was survival. Yet. Survival had come at a cost. The galaxy itself now lived in terror of them. Every race, every empire, every child who grew up hearing the stories, they all knew the same truth. Humanity had fought the most savage war in history. And because of that, no one would ever forget. On distant colonies, children whispered at night. Their parents told them stories of ships that burned stars, of soldiers who never stopped fighting, of a species that refused to die. Some children cried in fear. Others listened in awe. On broken battlefields, veterans sat in silence. They remembered the human eyes, cold, steady, unyielding. They remembered the way humans moved in battle, not like warriors, but like storms. They remembered how even in victory humans did not cheer. They only kept moving, as if war was nothing but breath itself. One old commander, the same who had once faced them and survived, spoke before the council one last time. His voice was weak, his body broken, but his words carried across the chamber. You ask why they fought with such fury. You ask why they burned stars, why they left us trembling. I will tell you. It is because they knew something we never understood. For them, every battle was not about glory or empire. It was about tomorrow. And tomorrow is something they would kill, burn, and bleed for, because tomorrow is survival. The chamber fell silent. No one argued. No one spoke. For they all knew his words were true. Across the stars, whispers became legend. Legends became warnings. And warnings became law. Entire generations grew up fearing humanity not because of what humans might do, but because of what they already had done. The galaxy now moved carefully around them. Borders were respected, treaties were honored, not out of kindness, not out of trust, but out of fear of awakening the storm again. And yet, there was another feeling hidden beneath the terror, a quiet respect. Because deep down, every species knew the truth. Humanity had not fought for conquest. They had not fought to enslave. They had fought only to survive. And in that survival, they had proven something no one could deny. They were strong. They were relentless. They were unforgettable. Time passed. Empires rebuilt. New wars broke out, small and petty. But whenever a leader raised their voice too loudly, whenever an army marched too boldly, the whispers would begin again. The same words repeated in every corner of the galaxy. Remember what happened when the humans fought? Those whispers carried like ghosts. They echoed in palaces, in markets, in temples, in the dark corners of ships drifting through the void. And no matter how much time passed, the echo remained. The war had been savage. The galaxy had trembled, and humanity's name had become more than a name. It had become a warning. It had become a shadow. It had become forever. In the end, the stars still burned, the planets still turned, and life continued. But in every quiet moment, in every silent pause, the galaxy remembered. And in that silence, one name always returned. A name spoken with fear. A name spoken with awe. A name spoken like thunder even in whispers. Humanity.